Hey, Ontraport, Neil here from Email Splat. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hey, I'm going to totally fanboy out here for a few minutes on the Ontraport API, and let me tell you why. Because it's amazing. The Ontraport API, if you're not using it, maybe you don't need to, but you should really explore it and see if it can help you do things you never imagined. So I'm going to show you something I just did for a client here in the last week. And if I say so myself, it's pretty cool. Um, Something I haven't done before with the API, and just had fun doing it and wanted to share. So um, this is a custom object setup. We have conferences, contacts, and registrations. And conferences are events that people can go to, and registrations are people's attendance at that event. So in this setup, we have conferences are a parent of registration, as well as contacts are a parent of registration. So registration is a bridge object, I call it. It's the intersection of contacts and conferences. So I can see each person's ticket to every event. And this way I can do more with automation than I could if it was a many-to-many relationship between contacts and conferences. But that's a different topic for another day. What I really wanted to talk about here is a problem I see a lot is that people want to pull up lists of contacts based on events or based on child objects. In this case, we wanted to be able to segment contacts by the events they went to, which we could in registrations, except for the fact that if someone went to multiple events, I'd have them in that list multiple times. Um, so if I want to do some sort of broadcast out of my contacts object, I can't, because I can't see what events they went to. You can't query by a child object in the parent record, by what child objects they have. So one way to work around that is to create tags in the contact for every, kind of replicate those child records. So in this case, the conferences, they have a tag in the contact record for every conference they go to. And then not only can we segment them based on the contact, but we can also on the conference, but we can also segment then mix that same that conference segment in with other parameters. So I could look for people who live in this region and went to this conference and da 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 da. So it gives me a lot more power than if I was just looking in my registration object, or if I was just looking at people who attended a conference in general. Now I can slice down to the specific conference. But here's the problem with this. You have to set it up every time, right? So if I have a conference, that means every time I have to put a tag in the contact record that correlates to that conference. And then I have to add it to that contact. And it just gets, if you have a lot of people going through conferences, or if you have a lot of conferences, that gets tedious, right? Um, so here's what I did this week. I totally automated this. So now, if we look in conferences, I have a test conference. When I create a conference now, I'm using the API, and here's where the API comes into all of this. I'm using the API to create a corresponding tag in the contact record, and then I'm putting that tag ID back in the conference. So in this case, tag number 134 is test day conference. And I'm using Zapier. So I'm pushing this out to Zapier, having Zapier push it back in and create a tag over in the contact object for this event. So event 90 is tag 134 in contacts. And so now, not only did I do that, but I also created a rule in the contacts record, also using the API in Zapier. So I created a rule automatically, totally dynamically, that says we're going to create a registration for event 90. So when I go into a contact now, here's a test contact, you will see that I have no registrations to events. Here's where you would see the conferences I had been to. I have nothing. So if I go over here, I can search, and you will see that now I have a tag, test day conference. I add that, Refresh. And when we refresh, there it is. We've got a new registration and we have them tagged. So I can use other automation. So my plan is to use Eventbrite to push in their registration on this particular setup. And we'll just have to add the tag for the conference. So if we create the conference in Ontraport first, that's automatically going to create the tag. They can create their event in Eventbrite. And then when they set up the integration for each particular event, all they have to do is find the existing tag. So they don't have to make a tag, it's already there. And then that tag will create by adding that tag, it's going to create the registration for that person. And if we go over to registrations here, you'll see I have a registration now. Yeah, so there it is. Pretty amazing. The Ontraport API gives you so much power to do some really creative and off-the-wall things to really make it truly dynamic, make it truly automated so that you don't even have to create rules in this case. So, this particular client has hundreds of events. It would be a pain in the butt to have to set up every one of these rules and set up every one of these tags and so on. Here, it's just automatically going to create them from now on. Man, late on St. Patty's Day and stumbling over my words. But there, you get the idea. API, cool. That's all you need to know. Again, Neil from Email Splat. Got any questions, hit me up in the chat and the comments below, and maybe I can help you out. All right.